Well, we get into our very first story, and fishermen in the central region are kicking against this year's implementation of the closed season. Government, in a statement, announced the commencement of a 1-month ban on fishing artisanal fishermen and 2 months for industrial fishermen. Now, this spans between the 1st of July and the 31st of August 2022. But fishermen in Cape Coast are not happy and will not budge. We'll hear from them shortly, but let's first take a look at the statement issued by government. And so you can see the statement there. It says, press release notice 2022 closed season. And the general public is informed that in accordance with Section 84 of the Fisheries Act 2002, Act 625, the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture and the Fisheries Commission, together with industry players and other stakeholders, will be implementing the 2022 closed season as follows. 1 month closed season from the 1st of July to the 31st of July 2022. That is artisanal canoes and semi-industrial, that is inshore fleets. And a 2-month closed season from the 1st of July to the 31st of August 2022. And that is for industrial and trawl equipment. It must be indicated that the period of the 2022 closed season was agreed on based on scientific evidence and stakeholder consensus. Within the 1-month closure, there will be no premixed fuel allocation to the coastal landing beach committees. It is signed by the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Honourable Mrs. Mavis Hawa Kumsin. So what exactly are the concerns of the artisanal fishermen in Cape Coast? Here are some of them at a press conference in Elmina.
Yampano, 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 yo, Ghana man, I'm a ramu, Nayana, Honam, Mamma watch with Jimenado. Yo, and a pay of Fama Kwamijan, Mr. Apam. 2013 National Best Fisherman. And the pay, I am a ramu, them one ranum, near Namo Hunam, Sian the payer. Yakasaka crack, Yapade, Yarutum Flemum, Ma Abai, Ossi, only there, Yafel Malayan, and the Quasam in the baby and Onkoye. Pra, never been Koye. Send nothing Koye, let's say Yankano Shemwa, and a young Frenchman, Nayarupun. Only there. Yes, another Yanam watch and I pay for the chair only Yafel Jume. Now Yafel Jume, oh yeah, infida. I'm there, process in the end of the bay. Yewano, and Daba Ankoye. Titil, Wabashambana, Abanon by Funwasha. I'm a Ramon, no, was I in Asia. Yansha and Watchera, Abba Afrobedu. Yandamina, a fianza. Yapumena added on fianza. In the Mankoye, Afisi, Yakada Soda, also what about 2 pum. I put about 2 moon. Anna, a man Rami Yadunwa, Yansase. I seen it there. Last time when I put one on this year. Afisi Shandama, Essie, Kolola, Ahochil, Young Wamanze. I found for young Wamanze. Yatwayanto, your free young one. Patro, you better at a couple. Now, abandon also about 2 pum. It's your son minister. Yes, son minister. Also, the channel on review. Also, I said, I found for Yan Sasa, I feared about 2 punum. I said, young womanze. I found for young womanze. Young woman's papa, Yan Patron couple. Yan Patron, your phone couple. Patro, Abortin, I Patrosu, Nation Champion, me there. Or your Apofin, none of them what on my. I am a runway and what a couple. Says the Wundam, or do a top of Toro Casua, now a trauma of a drum called 2000, 1008, 1009, 1005. I have to see, man. It's your Slabano, also patrol summon, supporters on for me from Copa, up of this assembly. No, patrol, Abano head and Ottoman Crawford. It's Yaslabano. I'm afraid we had a young time. They're pretty episode. Anna, this are them crosses in your rebate. So, Adaba, Anna 2024, most of about 2 mana. So, on 2 Maza, and on our fellow for young time. asene protum yantase ne yantase ochna so yantase no afi
we from mesma me fi mo we abra ye ba mpo anu no ye boto ye nananom opo ne wode tete han ye we amba me mko ma wo bi ako mpo ana na michima mo do hwa mamba me wi so mba no me de bi ako school me kete adwuma na me kete no first ye me ye potro ye ga no do ye de ko potro she ye ko to potro ye da akwafu ye de he bi amamba na nda potro no po wo de ba ye ko ho a wo me he bi wo ma ya chiche nyame nya ye de buo ya how ya ko bo afan busa so ko bo wo fan chao meti bi antes so opuni ye de ba ko ni ye bi de kutu aban ka na se what punu ma aba de ye be ye ni ye de tuya da mus ka ne ya ka jin ye kutu ya ka anti ye tete ya how aban ye pane chao opuni ye nju tum de wo ba to punum ye nju tum anya mesa fu ye nju tum ye wumba afafu ye wumba ni yesi to fund work at an office wo bo afafu de ye mboa nti ya bu ni enje tumo
ye hunde abani owodu ye fa adwuma na opedo ogun onam de se ye boto aba ministry ontupunu mu ye to aba wi a na osi mbotupunu mu epunu so tumu no onye adwuma ruanum onye woni nhia ni woni yen hyehyɛ biara minister so obodo olubi sia falfa na wa aka na assembly yekopo ho oya adwo papa minister bai onje anyima anya for dom ye wo central region onye ni hye poda aba onye abanjuma yafu no onye woni sia a won kopunu mu efi ebunu ntum no so mbira du tupunu mu no oya mbira ye na afrofu yekopo izi twa ye ne kawo yinya bi hwe ye ne mba na say etu dem etu ebunu de membri ya ene ahwa che de nku wiazi bia o de na ya ye adwumazi bi we tebu niska be 1 billion o za ye adwumazi na sole sma tupum ene kibi je omuko pu esia adwuma ro fa eden nti a minister of officials oyina ba na akufado de wala ho afalfo papa wala ho yen papa what to punuma and some other ban also. Also, no piano is not to pumbo sumokol. But someone could get out.
So those are some of the fishermen in the Cape Coast area. Let's go live now and interact with Nana Brakwa Asare, who is the premix administrator for fishermen in Cape Coast. He joins us live with more on this agitation from the fishermen. Good morning, sir. What has changed this year in respect of the implementation of the closed season, which you are not happy about? What exactly is different?
A very good morning to you, and good morning to all your viewers this morning. Nothing has changed with regards to the implementation of the closed season. Closed season is something that has come to stay. It is something that we were near to the benefit of the fisher folks. I think this closed season, if you read the letter that came or the communique that came from the ministry, it is something that is enshrined in the Fisheries Act. And closed season is a worldwide phenomenon. It happens in lots and lots of places in the world. And it's to protect and to enhance the work of the fishermen. So the person that stands to benefit the most from this closed season is the fisher folks themselves and not government. If you look at the structure of fishing, we know our fish stocks are declining. And scientists have even predicted that if care is not taken in the next 20 to 15 years, if care is not taken, fishermen will go to sea and not get anything at all to come home with. Even as I speak to you now, currently, fishermen go to sea and buy food, very expensive, and go for their fishing expedition and come back with almost nothing. So I believe that it beckons on us as a society to ensure that we protect the resources that God has given to us. I think it will be very sad to come in the next 15 years and then there will be nothing in.
So Nana, that point is clearly made and maybe overflogged. But let's look at the reality of these fisher folk who say that even access to premix fuel is not that available, and we know that they are supposed to have access to these. There are measures put in place for them to have access to these facilities. They talk about the cost and all of that. What exactly is happening in that respect?
Okay, to begin with, I think government is doing a lot to alleviate the plight of fisher folks. In fact, if you look at the cost of premix fuel is sold for 7 cedis, 20 pesos, as opposed to it's supposed to be sold for about 50 cedis. To situate this conversation in context, premix fuel is majority of or about 95% of premix fuel is super. So anytime fuel is increased on the world market, ordinarily premix fuel is supposed to be sold. So if you take 7 cedis and 20 pesos out of 50 cedi, that should tell you the amount of subsidy government is pushing into premix. So it should tell the level of subsidy or what government is doing for the fisher folks. Now, admittedly, in the past 3 weeks, we are having challenges, and these challenges are global. And I know how the price of fuel has been skyrocketing in recent times. We started this year for a liter of fuel being sold for 5 cedis. Now it's close to 10 cedis a liter. And we know that government pays this under recoveries to BDCs. BDCs also have a challenge importing fuel into the country. We can talk of the Ukraine-Russia war. BDCs are having serious challenges bringing fuel into the country. If you go to other jurisdictions, Nigeria and the rest, people are even struggling to get ordinary fuel to go to sea. So, admittedly, yes, there are challenges, but that is not to say that we've stopped supplying fuel to fisher folks. Yes, the fuel went to Elminas,
So you're supplying, but it is no longer affordable. You're supplying, but it's no longer affordable to them. But just hold it for me. Hold it, Nana. Let's have a conversation. I want you to listen to the chief fisherman in Cape Coast. He had a few problems to share. I want you to address them. So just stay with me and let's hear from the chief fisherman.
Noni ya no isanu wateshi kodu wa yue eja ka ga wateshi ma e ba koto minister le juno reba wakashi wa anu e aka attention for 2 years hey ni mini juno reba davida e re sanu wateshi no ngmene gbina wateshi ye no won yue waka insurance me tiona amecha me popo ni ma ya le dia to ne ka me insurance. Yeah, many on Shona, no me on when be coming your mammy affair. I mean, be a buy. Anyai. Many yen, Savitafla, Nabe Banshona, Naman by your law, and I'm about Shona and by low. I mean, Yanameba. And I what is she walk out way. Nipadi be Yale, Jana Kine. What minute be there, walk out by you. Can you won't come here? In Shona Metiona, Janoco. She, I'm a sure local German Sekaba. Now I'm going to walk costos there. Now I'm home.
So, Nana, some of the concerns they're being shared in terms of what impact this is having on them. Any quick responses?
All right. So, from what he said, luckily I understand Ghana. Let me correct. He said the ministry wants to close the sea for 2 years. That is not the statement.
I think that must have been a slip, not.
Yeah. So it's for 1 month for the artisanal, and for the industrial trawlers they are going for 2 months.
2 months.
A lot of times people complain that it looks like we try to protect the industrial trawlers and the like, but they are going for 2 months. No fishing, and they are doing just for 1 month. And like I said, the close season will near to the benefit of the fisher folks. That point has been made well and clear. And we've had a lot of stakeholder consultations. The ministry, even a fortnight ago, met all the fisher folks across the country to meet and deliberate with them. So it's something that's going to inure to their benefit. And we want to use the platform to encourage all the fisher folks to do this wholeheartedly, so that at the end of the day, we can all protect the very scarce resources.
Now, my final bit to you, I hear you and I understand across the world this is done, the closed season. But if the fisher folk are agitating like this, it must point to certain difficulties they have. There is talk about the pricing of the premix, the fact that, of course, they even go and they don't, catch as much as they would have done. I'm sure you would attribute that to, overfishing and all of that. But Don't you feel there are other problems that are making them agitated like this? Else, it shouldn't be such a problem, observing the closed season, should it?
Yeah, I don't think it should be a problem at all. Looking at the level of consultations we've done, like I said...
Are you going to continue with those consultations? Are you going to continue with them?
Yes, we'll definitely continue with the consultations. Last year, for example, when we implemented the closed season, the minister herself was on the ground giving support to fisher folks, giving them some support and all of that. So it's something that has come to stay. And anything has its challenges when it's starting for the first time. I think this is the third time it's going to happen. So we'll definitely encounter some of these challenges. So the ministry will still consult, we'll still sit with them, we'll try and see how we can address the situation. So that
Finally, Nana, how will you deal with any, so to speak, recalcitrant fishermen? Now, some of them have said they are simply not going to comply. How are you going to, address the situation?
I think the closed season is enshrined in the fisheries laws. And last year we had a near 100% compliance, and we are going to work with the FEU, the Marine Police, to make sure we ensure strict compliance. Because something that is enshrined, it's in the fisheries law, it's been and it's a community. So all fishermen must adhere strictly to what the ministry is trying to do. Like I said, it stands to benefit them the most. And we all have to do this and make sure it happens. Some of them were complaining that the election year didn't happen from the press conference you showed not long ago.
Right.
Of course, we all know what was happening globally, and I think the ministry thought it was that it was Corona, and we all knew what was happening.
Right. Nana, let me sneak in this bit. I wanted to let you go, but stay with me. We have Nana Kweja, who is also president of the Canoe Fishermen Association of Ghana. He also joins the conversation. Nana Kweja, thank you for joining the conversation. Now, what are your chief concerns when it comes to, this entire situation of the closed season?
Right. Thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers and listeners. I must make this point that yesterday I did not participate in the press conference in opposition to the closed season, because we were in Volta region looking at tidal wave issues, and I'm yet to have the full details of what the fishers in Cape Coast spoke about. But I must put it on record that fishers have a lot of concerns about the implementation of the closed season.
What are the concerns? Just detail them briefly if you can.
Good. The concern is that the closed season period coincide with the economic period of the artisanal fisheries, because in the artisanal fisheries, July, August, September is the economic period. That is where fishers may catch. Now, it is within this period that the scientists say is the biological period, for which reason the closed season should be observed as such. The question is, what adequate provisions are being made for to provide socio-economic support for the fishers within the closed season period? Currently, we all know the economic situation in the country and the associated rising costs and hardship. The question is, what adequate provisions have been made to contain the fishers, to support the fishers within the period that they are observing this closed season? The next thing is that we are doing the closed season so that the fish reproduction can go on. The question is, how adequately have we planned to address the illegalities that are driving the collapse of the fishery? Because we have the harvesting of juvenile fish across all sectors, with industrial sectors, these trawlers harvesting juvenile fish, landing them at the port, putting them in cartons and freezers, which are to be sold by the coastal operators. The question is, how are we addressing this illegality? Because if at the end of the closed season, we go back to business as usual, then depriving the fishers of their livelihood within the period it is not worth doing. So these are some of the concerns that the fishers have. As we speak, we have had challenges with supply of premise due to internal and then external factors. So even within this period, going to fishing has been difficult. Now we want the fishers to adequately prepare for the cruise season. But the question is, we are being challenged as to our ability to go for fishing within this period. How then do we prepare to contain ourselves within the closed season period? So out of these economic issues, I wouldn't be surprised the fishers coming out to voice that they wouldn't implement. But then,
are you in support of that position? Very quickly, are you in support of that position? The non-compliance.
I am not in support of that position, but I think that we should engage to make the implementation of the closed season rather effective. So let's table the issues, the concerns that we have, and let's get the Ministry of the Fisheries and Agriculture Development and then the Fisheries Commission to sit down with the fishers and look at how we can address these concerns that the fishers have. At the end of the day, the resource is collapsing, and it is the duty of everyone to support effort at rebuilding the resource. But then that should not be done at the expense of the livelihood or at the expense of the well-being of the fishers. So I will appeal that let's put the issues down. Let's get the ministry to engage, and then we can know how best to go about it.
Nana Kwija, thank you for engaging us this morning. We're grateful for your time. Nana, would you like to respond to that? The issues raised by Nana Kwija, just briefly as we wrap.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, like you said rightly, I think we need to engage more, but it's a collective effort. Most of the illegalities he's talking about are being perpetrated by these same fishermen. You talk about light fishing, and Nana Kwija knows very well that his fishermen, majority of them are engaged in this illegality. So we always want to shift the goalpost to government. What is the role? What role are these artisanal fishers also playing in making sure we curb some of these illegalities? So it's a collective effort. They can come to the table. We'll sit down again and see how we can resolve these challenges. But the ministry, led by the minister, Honorable Mavis Hawakumsen, is fighting these illegalities head on. We can state authoritatively that issues of cycle and the rest is now a thing of the past. There are some niggling issues we need to solve, and we need the contribution of the fisher folks. We need them on board to make sure some of these illegalities come to an end. Of course, it's not the fisheries ministry perpetrating these illegalities. Things we are talking about, like use of monofilament nets, IUU fishing, use of generators or light fishing to go to sea, are being perpetrated by these same fisher folks. So in addressing these problems, we need their contribution to make sure these things come to an end.
Thank you, Nana Asare, the Premix Administrator there, for joining the conversation. On to our next story now. Stakeholders are pushing for the review of the Alternative Dispute Resolution Act to deal with petty offences and misdemeanors. According to them, it will reduce piled-up cases at the courts. Now, this unanimous advocacy was made at a roundtable discussion organised by the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative Africa Office with support from USAID under its Justice Sector support activity. Samuel Mbura now reports.
Ghana's criminal justice system is seriously faced with challenges of overcrowding in prisons and detention facilities, unreasonable delays in administering of justice caused by frequent adjournments and slow processing of documents due to a high caseload in courts and limited access to legal aid services. These necessitated the enactment of the Alternative Dispute Resolution Act 2010 and the Legal Aid Commission to help ease the burdens of the courts and decongest the prisons. Private legal practitioner and member of the Ghana Association of Certified Mediators and Arbitrators, Martin Nwuso, says the solution lies in the establishment of mediation posts at the police stations to handle minor and petty offences.
If the police was to have what I called a mediation post within the police station, so that the police can start sieving these matters when minor offenses are reported to them, rather than starting to investigate and inviting the other party to criminally eventually charge that person. They can sit the two parties down and try to investigate what happened. Through question and answer, they'll be able to come to what really the issue is and be in a better position to help the parties absolutely resolve the matter. Because these parties will be going home probably to the same compound house or the same community. It might even be related individuals within the community. So doing that, taking that proactive step of ascertaining right at the police station, the first time the report was made, ascertaining whether this is a serious matter or a minor matter, and if it is the second one, which is a minor issue, refer them to the police station's ADR post.
But Principal Alternative Dispute Resolution Officer, Legal Aid in charge of Human Resource and Operation, Philip Asamoah, indicated to make this possible, Article 29 will have to be reviewed.
We appreciate what CHRI is doing, but let's go to the basis. let's go to what defines it. If we don't go back to the law, we cannot operate. Because all of us, our hands are tied.
So you support the call for it to be reviewed? It should be specific.
Of course. We all have to go back to Act 29. And that is the basis. All criminal offenses are defined there. And the procedures are in 30.
So if it is reviewed, do you have the capacity to enforce that?
No, if any law that comes in means that even the judges must go by that. Yes, so if we get Parliament to amend some sections, because we need to be specific what we are taking to Parliament for them to amend for us, then definitely all stakeholders will be working with.
Meanwhile, Director at the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative Africa Office, an implementing partner of the USAID Justice Sector Support Activity, says the review will help the state save money. Mina Mensah is the Director of Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative Africa Office.
The state earns money because, you see, it costs time and money for the police to arrest, prosecute. The judge's time costs money. And the state is not looking at that cost involved in prosecuting a minor offense. Apart from that cost, there's also the cost of feeding somebody who stole about, let's say, something worth 1,000 Ghana cedis for 6 months. Let's calculate. Even if they are giving them 1 cedi 60 pesos or 1 cedi 80 pesos as the amount of money to feed one prisoner, it's still some money.
Section 73 of the Courts Act makes a provision for victim-offender mediation in criminal cases, but the wording of this section gives judges the discretion in such matters. But the CHRI and other stakeholders want the discretion taken away to make it clearly stated. Samuel Imbura's report for JoyNews.
Now, the Animal Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research in Adenta Fafaha is calling on the government and other stakeholders to join the fight against land guards and encroachers. According to the principal research scientist, Dr. Edmund Sotti, the activities of these land guards and encroachers on the land of the institute are impeding their work. Mausi Numon was at a news conference and now reports.
The Animal Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research was set up with a mandate to develop technologies for improving poultry and livestock production. For this reason, vast acres of land were acquired at strategic locations throughout the country, taking into consideration their ecological characteristics. Over the years, the institute has contributed immensely to improving poultry and livestock production, thereby enhancing farmers' incomes and livelihoods in the country. But lately, the work of the institute has come under serious threat due to the encroachment on their land. Principal research scientist Dr. Edmund Sotti fears some of their facilities may shut down.
Encroachment activities came to a head in 2017 when the institute had to spend huge sums of money to construct a wall around portions that had not been heavily encroached on. Yet some unscrupulous persons have ventured into our walls, destroyed our property, including large sections of the walls, and put up houses or fenced off large tracts of land. To do this, they have all manner of people, that's what we usually refer to as land guards, on the institute's property, threatening and terrorizing workers. Currently, the following facilities that were put up with both government and donor funds have been virtually cordoned off with illegal fences and buildings. The following facilities acquired with the mentioned funds are under siege. 1, our piggery, which was funded by the Skills Development Funds and Government of Ghana and Danida funding. Our hatchery, which was funded by the EDIF or the Exim Bank. Guinea fowl housing, funded by the WAP and World Bank. Our sheep breeding pen, funded by the CEDA, Ministry of Local Government. Insect for feed unit, funded by the Swiss government. Our meat processing factory, funded by Danida. Then our residents have not been spared. That's the residents of staff have not been spared. The activities of criminals and land guards on our land greatly endanger government and donor investment in facilities for research and development here at the Institute. This has become an international embarrassment as our international partners had to be informed about this threat to ongoing projects. Additionally, the peace of our staff of the institute are being threatened by these criminals. We deem it proper to inform the public about these happenings. First of all, the CSR Animal Research Institute, including its staff and facilities, are a national asset that must be safeguarded. Secondly, unscrupulous, unsuspecting persons may be persuaded by stories that the sellers tell them regarding ownership of the land. Thus, they ought to be careful not to be deceived by persons posing as landowners. Finally, those encroaching on the land should know that their greed, and I repeat, their greed and criminal ways will be exposed, and their judgment day will surely come. To this end, we call on law enforcement, government, and all meaning citizens of this country to come to help protect our assets.
They have attempted to resolve these issues. Here is head of finance at the institute, Armiel Ibn Said, listing the measures.
2 years ago, the institute took the encroachers to court and won. So we're given the right to demolish those illegal structures. But unfortunately, at that time, we needed money to do so, and there was none. But even before we started the demolition, the encroachers had also gone to court to overturn the ruling. So we were given the right to demolish. It was overturned. Then we went back to court. It was granted. Then just last year, when we made a move to demolish, the security said, no, you have to go back to court to renew the right to demolish. So last year, we went back to court to renew that right. It was granted. The encroachers also went back to court to challenge that decision, and theirs was also granted. So because theirs is now granted, that is the power they are using to deceive potential buyers that they have been given the right to sell the land, and that's why they are selling the land. The ruling was about our right to demolish the land, and not about who owns the property.
The Animal Research Institute, however, believes that combined effort from the government, security agencies, and citizens will help fix the problem. Mausi Numon's report for JoyNews.
School has been a major setback in the school's quest to allow students to take up elective courses in that area. Starting next academic year, however, the school with visual arts students in particular will be able to sign up for ICT as an elective subject. This was made possible by the intervention of the Israeli Embassy under its Education for Digitization Innovation Initiative. There's more on that in this report.
Since its establishment 31 years ago, the Amasamai Senior High School has not been able to effectively undertake teaching and learning in information communication technology. Students reading programs such as visual arts lacked the opportunity to rub shoulders with their mates in other schools because they do not have adequately equipped ICT labs. Headmistress of the school, Irene Okanse, said the situation would change in the next academic year due to the Israeli Embassy's intervention. As a beneficiary of the Israeli Embassy's Education for Digitization Innovation Initiative, the school will from next year begin elective courses in ICT. That the initiative, which is in collaboration with the Embassy and the Ghana Education Service, all senior high schools across the country will have fully furnished ICT labs with active internet services.
We have long looked forward to. It's the beginning of a dream come true. This is because as management of the school, we have been contemplating on the introduction of ICT as a fourth elective subject, especially for the technical and our visual arts students.
Her Excellency Shlomit Sufa is Israeli ambassador to Ghana.
It is also very important for us to work in line with the policy of the Ministry of Education and to have these classes spread all over the country, not just in Accra, but as you see today in Tamale, in Wale Wale, and hopefully future in other regions and sectors of Ghana.
Deputy Education Minister Intim Fojo commended the Israeli embassy for the gesture. He's optimistic the initiative will contribute greatly to Ghana's STEM education policy.
We thank the Israeli embassy for the support, even in augmenting on what is government's priority. This must encourage other stakeholders also to join in this worthy investment to ensure that a child born in Ghana has access to quality education and has the relevant skills required for today.
Students can be accommodated in the newly equipped ICT lab at a time. School authorities are convinced.
Well, let's quickly take you live now to the Supreme Court on some recent developments.
What happens to the we are getting closer to a by-election?
What happens to the people of Asin North? Because the court says they should remain in force until the substantive matter is determined.
Yes, definitely. So it means that as the High Court that had earlier on held, the seat for me, the people of Asin North will not be represented. And I think that for all these legal gymnastics that have been employed by the lawyers for Asin North, perhaps the by-election should have been conducted long ago. And I, in my view, think that there should even nothing in the way of the Electoral Commission to declare the seat vacant. The High Court has ruled, given a judgment, determining the status of the gentleman as not qualified to have stood for election and had actually cancelled the election conducted in the Asin North constituency. And the Court of Appeal subsequently struck out this appeal for non-compliance with the rules of the Court of Appeal. So there's no appeal pending. And I think the way is clear. But of course, the Supreme Court has ordered an expedited hearing and determination of this matter. Yes, I believe that the Supreme Court hearing definitely will also affirm all the principles of law that I have indicated had early on been established by the courts of Ghana.
As Attorney General, it must really worry you that between now and whatever time that the Supreme Court would have had a substantive matter, the people of Asin North, their right to representation would have been taken away from them.
I don't think there is any right to representation which has been imperiled at all. I mean, it must be established clearly that the Supreme Court has always exercised its powers to grant an injunction in constitutional matters. Way back in 1996, the Supreme Court granted an injunction against the MPP in the case of Rosemary Kwame against the MPP. The MPP was injuncted from proceeding to elect a candidate on account of the fact that the Supreme Court has exercised the power to grant an injunction. It's a court of law and equity, and therefore the main basis for determining whether an injunction ought to be granted is whether indeed a clear case of unconstitutionality has been established. And as I indicated in argument to the court, each passing day that the gentleman continues to unlawfully go to Parliament, he breaches the Constitution. So it's a running unconstitutionality. And I think that the Supreme Court is in its right to halt such a patent and running unconstitutionality.
So you heard the Attorney General, Godfred Yeboah-Dame, speaking to the press. We have the legal team for Mr. Michael Ankoma-Nifa, who took this particular matter. We can speak to Mr. Frank Davis. He's here with us. Mr. Davis.
Thank you. It's not a matter of me definitely expecting this. It's a matter of the Lord Justices of the Supreme Court having made a determination of the application which was before them. If you say that I knew this was coming, as if I'm a judge, I'm just a lawyer. I present my case before the court and the court rules. Indeed, I'm not a clairvoyant. Well, because of what we had put before the court, my expectation was that the constitution of the land will be upheld and that the constitution of the land will be given its highest priority. And that is what has happened. One cannot involve in a egregious breaches of the constitution and still go around holding himself as a citizen of this country. From day one, when the judgment of the High Court was rendered, it was manifestly obvious that James Jesse Kwesi could not hold himself out as a member of Parliament. He doggedly went on, was attending on to the business of government. But today, that road has been effectively blocked. You can tread a path for too long, but it doesn't give you the right to do things which are irregular, unlawful, and an affront to the Constitution.
Mr. Davis, the AG holds the view that
your client, even in an attempt to enforce the Constitution regards parliamentary elections, is also minded about the right of his own people, including he himself, to be represented in Parliament. This has been the lingering concern from day one of this. How do you reckon the people of Asin North will be represented up to the time that the court would have duly dealt with the matter and fresh elections conducted?
The right of representation is not a stricture by itself. The right of representation is steeped in law. You can't have an illegible person running around as a member of parliament for a constituency when he is not. It obviously leads to a mutilation of the sovereign will of the people of Asin North. They are better off now without someone who is parading as a member of parliament whilst he is not, whilst we await the decision of this court. The mere fact that they don't have to quote a member of parliament at this time does not, in any event, strip them of what they are entitled to as citizens of this country. At any particular point in time, there will be a needed representation from the new Patriotic Party for the Asin North constituency.
Mr. Davis, the AG holds the view that as far as he's concerned, he doesn't think anything actually stops the EC from going ahead to declare the seat vacant and having the by-election takes place. Is that a position that you share as well?
I won't stray into that logic. The EC was represented in the courtroom. They have a lawyer, and the lawyer will advise them as to the next steps to take. I do not attempt to speak for the EC.
Yeah, but what do you expect to happen?
Well, you also have read the Constitution. As a trained journalist, you've read the Constitution.
But the court said it remains till the substantive matter is determined. For now, they do not have an MP. There's a judgment that was final that says he can't hold himself as MP.
So the EC will do what is right by law.
So you had Mr. Davis there. He is lawyer for Michael Ankoma Nimfa, who filed this particular action right from the petition that was filed at the High Court, right from the High Court through to the Supreme Court now. Now let's go and listen to Baba Jamal. He is a member of the NDC's legal team. He will be addressing us as well.
Your member was not in court today personally, and this was handed down. How do you receive this ruling?
I don't think that it matters whether he was here or not. Let me say that the Supreme Court has given its ruling, but we vehemently disagree with their position. I think that it is a sad day for all of us. That if what it means is that Asin North is also not going to have representation in Parliament for as long as this case lasts. That is a sad situation, because there are precedents in this country. We all remember the case in Ayawaso, West Wagon, where the lady was allowed to stay in Parliament until the final day of the determination of the case. So I thought that the Supreme Court will consider that situation and allow a representation. You see, this is a representation matter. If people have voted for a person, this is a representation matter. They deserve representation in Parliament. And so we thought that when the case is on, we could still have a representation in Parliament. But that is what the Supreme Court has said. The legal team will meet, of course, and also officially know the next step to take.
So he had Baba Jamal there. He's a legal practitioner and a member of the National Democratic Congress. And so if you are just joining us, the news that we have for you this mid-morning is that the Supreme Court has, by a 5-2 majority decision, ruled that Asin North MP James Jechikwesin cannot hold himself as Member of Parliament or attend to or present himself in Parliament until the substantive case which has been filed here at the Supreme Court is dealt with. I mean, the decision, this case started from July 2021 at the Cape Coast High Court after the 2020 parliamentary elections, where an election petition was filed by Michael Ankoma Nimfa. He's a resident of the constituency, saying that the MP old dual citizenship and old citizenship to Canada at the time of filing to contest the polls. And so the court ruled in his favor. An appeal was filed. The matter is still pending at the Court of Appeal. Portions of it were struck out. Then an application was done by Mr. Nimfe's lawyers here at the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court has today, by a 5-2 majority decisions. In terms of the makeup of the panel, by way of the decision that was reached by the Supreme Court, the two justices that took the view that the MP should not be restrained are Justices Nene Amegacha as well as Justice Agnes Doji. So those are the two judges that took the view that he shouldn't be restrained. The majority that made the 5, there was Justice Jones Doche, there was also Justice Professor Mensa Bunsu, as well as Justice Yoni Kulendi and Justice Gertrude Tokonu. They made up the majority opinion that concluded that as far as they are concerned, the MP should be restrained from performing parliamentary duties. And so, as it stands now, James Jeche Kwesin, who won the 2020 Asin North parliamentary polls, cannot hold himself as a member of parliament until the Supreme Court determines this substantive case which has been filed here against him. And one will ask, when will that case be determined? The Supreme Court has adjourned that matter indefinitely, and so we are waiting to see when that date will be fixed. And we brought you interactions between ourselves and the Attorney General, who takes the view that nothing actually stops the EC from declaring the seat vacant. We also heard from Frank Davis, who represented Michael Ankoma Nimfa, as well as hearing from Baba Jamal, a legal practitioner who is with the National Democratic Congress. And so that is the news and the latest we have from you from the Supreme Court. My name is Joseph Akable.
And my colleague there bringing us details from the Supreme Court. And of course, the Asin North Member of Parliament can no longer hold himself as such. He has been stopped as per this ruling with 2 dissenting opinions. As time goes on, we'll bring you the full decision on that case. But as it stands now, he cannot hold himself out as an MP. Up next, though, we bring you business. Do stay.
Hello, good morning. Time for Business on News Desk. I am Beverly Broom. The Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture is embarking on a reparation and restitution of stolen artifacts. This is expected to boost the tourism sector and make it lucrative to generate more income for the economy. Speaking at the inauguration of a focal team to embark on this initiative, Deputy Minister Mark Okreko-Manteh said his outfit will collaborate with other agencies to actualize the vision.
At the inauguration, 22-member focal team on the reparation and restitution of illegal, trafficked and stolen cultural heritage and artifacts to country of origin was tasked to identify and support researchers to elicit data that will support the government call and demand for reparation. They were entreated to work with the Ghana Heritage Committee and other various security services as well as the judicial service to minimize the illegal acquisition and trafficking of the nation's cultural heritage assets. Here is the Deputy Minister for Tourism, Art and Culture, Mark Okreko-Manteh.
The discourse on reparation and restitution of looted and illegally acquired African cultural objects in Europe museums back to their African places of origin has been ongoing for some time now. Since Ghana's independence, negotiations for the return of Ghanaian cultural objects outside the country have occurred. In most cases, these demands for the restitution and reparation of looted and illegally acquired Ghanaian cultural artifacts, whose locations, although known, have been denied or ignored. Ladies and gentlemen, the time for the return and restitution of cultural objects, film, and other intangible cultural heritage of Ghanaian origin, which are held in Western European nations and elsewhere, and are on the African continent is now. The ministry, subsequently, in pursuit of the above, and indeed as a matter of urgency, has put together this focal team to work hard to achieve its objectives, the return and restitution of these cultural heritage assets.
Chairman for the focal team, Professor Kojo Gavua, called on the media to play an active role in ensuring the feasibility of this mission.
Try and work with the team. We shall invite them for a number of meetings so they can help in disseminating information and help with the public advocacy for this, because without them, it will be difficult for the public to have clear understanding of what it is that government is embarking on. So my appeal and encouragement to the media to play an active role in this whole endeavor.
The focal team in the coming days will prepare Ghana's case for reinstitution of Ghana's cultural heritage asset for reparation for consideration and action by the government.
Indian company Workvero says it is creating business promotions avenues to enhance its operation here in Ghana. According to the chief executive for the company, Thomas James, the company is poised to bring together investors to support the health industry and ensure a robust health system in Ghana. He was speaking at the launch of the West Africa Pharma Healthcare Exhibition.
The business event will bring together manufacturers, exporters, wholesalers, dealers and distributors of the health industry to showcase their products to support the health industry in Ghana. It is expected to host about 100 exhibitors across the world. Here is the Chief Executive Officer for Workvero, Thomas James.
A complete international exhibition for the pharmaceutical, medical and healthcare space, the sector, the industry in Ghana, wherein we endeavor to bring in all channel partners and stakeholders and also all valuable key chain or supply chain suppliers to the table to meet with the Ghanaian industry, Ghanaian healthcare industry in 3 days in April in your country in this month. As an opening note, I would like to invite all stakeholders and industry members, including the hospitals, the private healthcare facilities, the pharmaceutical importers and distributors, the pharmaceutical chains, and also the pharmaceutical manufacturers in Ghana to come forward, participate and visit in our exhibition and meet with our exhibitors from different countries.
He further indicated that companies are willing to invest in Ghana's health industry.
But as I mentioned, we are having some of the companies who are into pharmaceutical manufacturers exhibiting the show. Some of them are themselves interested to set up their own manufacturing in this country. As you know, Ghana is very much enlisted, and of course taking the headquarters of the AFTA, African Continent Countries for Free Trade Agreement. So Ghana enjoys a preferential space in the entire region and in the African country.
The West African Pharma Healthcare Exhibition takes place from the 27th to the 28th of April.
That's it for business, but we have more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business.
On the back of our breaking story from the Supreme Court, we are unable to bring you details of Rhodelin Amoat Dako's issue. Her husband is still being investigated. We'll bring you details of that in our news bulletin at noon. Thank you for joining.